Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tosh Customs and today we are looking at the NECA Alien Romulus figure as well as the accessory pack. The Scorched Xenomorph as well as the accessory pack you could pre-order as a bundle and it would give you free shipping. And I think it was a slightly discounted price. So I said, sure, why not? So I've been waiting since August for this guy to arrive. So it's been 3 or 4 months now and we finally have the Scorched Alien in hand. But I'm going to take a look at the accessory pack first, and then we're going to get into the beautiful, beautiful Scorched Xenomorph. I think this is one of NECA's best offerings to date in terms of paintwork, in terms of plastic. But in order to get to the star of the show, we got to put them aside really quick and talk about the accessory pack. So we already have one part of the accessory pack right here, and I'm going to bring in the clamshell for the rest of it as we get into the discussion. So the accessory pack is basically just allows you to recreate some other parts of the movie. So very first, we have the original big chap Xenomorph, and he's been crystallized in this, or I believe it's the original big chap, sort of like in this cocoon here. If you've seen the film, and this really isn't any spoilers, so I think I can just say it anyways. Weyland Yutani picks up the original Xenomorph. He's kind of been cocooned in this rock, and they cut him open the rock it's almost like more like organic. It's like an organic cocoon. They cut open the cocoon so that they can run science experiments on the alien, and that's just sort of like the opener to the film. So it allows you to have a look at the alien inside his cocoon here. It's also cool, you saw it already, but he sort of has like this little hanging wall plug, so you can post this guy up against your wall. I don't think I'll be doing that. Honestly, he'll probably just sit in my display. I have a little alien shelf of my own, but really beautiful detailing. As you can see, most of it is cast in this gray plastic. Then it looks like it has some dry brushing both on the front and the back. You can see probably some dark wash in the finish, or it's more of this metallic brassy gunmetal dry brushing up top just to give it sort of a glossy shiny look, and then here a much more metallic bronze dry brushing across the actual alien itself. Unfortunately, you can see, if we're talking about some quality, there's definitely some bleed off onto the rock around it, but nothing really to complain about. It's an accessory piece. It looks great. Beautiful. We have the auto-targeting rifle from the movie. More or less, it's a slight model change from the normal pulse rifle that we've come to know and love from the Alien franchise. Now instead in a beautiful white color as well, so we get a remodel, a recolor. It comes with the strap. It comes with the strap here. It's done in, semi-flexible plastic. Pretty cool. I think if anything, I'd just be worried about the connection points. Make sure they don't pop off your rifle as you're having your figures shoulder it. You can use your other previous NECA Alien figures, or from the franchise, or other 1/12 scale figures. This grip looks pretty universal, so slap it on anyone you want. Great model, great paint. You can see plenty of detail in here. You can see the little ammo counter charge value here. We have a 0.4 on the printing. Some little bits of yellow here, which I assume is just weathering. Pretty good wash, pretty good paint application. You can see a little bit of shininess of the glue there, but once again, overall, I'd say well done. It gets the weathering across very nicely. The next thing we get here is this face hugger carrying case. I'm not going to really explain the context if you haven't seen the movie yet, but there's just a face hugger sealed in this guy, in this clear plastic, and so we actually get a couple of different variations of the plastic covering here. If I can pull them out of the clam tray, you can see that one sort of gets these holes started tearing in it. We get one where it's fully broken open. I haven't really experimented with how to replace these yet. It looks like there might be a joint here, so I think I have to split this guy open somehow. Yeah, you can see there's a seam line. There's a seam line here, so I would assume that I crack this guy open to replace it, or I just punch it out I think it's a seam line based on the edge we have here. So you crack it open, swap out your different seals, but I don't really plan on doing that right now, just for the sake of this review. But you can do that. On top of that, we get, we'll start with the face hugger actually. We get a face hugger that comes with the accessory pack, a fully open one. You can see his coloration is different from what we'd normally expect. This one is black with some sort of tan appendages, and we get some pink painted in there as well. Beautiful paint job, looks very clean. A nice shiny gloss color on it. Coming onto the inside, we sort of have this underbelly tone. It's darker up on the scales, it's lighter on the underbelly. Some more pink with a little bit of red and black wash in the crevices there. Overall, very beautiful. The tail is wired just a little bit, but it's pretty stiff, so I don't think you're going to get a ton of posability out of it, but you can probably get it to bend and turn just a little bit like so, just to help with sort of that scurrying and crawling poses. The legs are done in a soft plastic, but they're not wired, so you can see I can press it in and it's just going to expand back out to where it was. So that's the face hugger there. We get two other face hugger models, as you can see here. We get one where it's completely curled up. You can see the tail wrapping around the underside here, up and over to the top part of the body. This is the one that is going to sit inside your carrying case. Here, it will sit something like that, but, or I guess other way, like that. But obviously, I'm not cracking it open. I don't want to slot them inside, but that's what that's designed for. And then obviously you can swap the cases out to make him look like he's punched out, and he's gonna go implant an egg in someone. And then on the flip side, you also have one that is designed to wrap around other figures' heads. So the tail here, it's done in a semi-soft plastic, so you should be able to wrap it around someone's neck here. And then, I don't know if this comes apart or not. I think you're just supposed to kind of finagle it around. Everything is done sort of out of this semi-soft plastic, so you should just be able to kind of peel it away and slot it over a character's head. Probably could have been engineered better. It feels a little too stiff for what they wanted. I think there's definitely a more rubbery, gummy plastic that could have been used for this material. But overall, good enough. And the last offering we get is two models of the chest burster here. We get one that is already pre-posed, sort of poking up, standing up straight. He's got his little mouth open here, and you can see some beautiful little silver teeth. He's got his two little arms here, and he's already posed to slither away. And then the other one, I think this is more of a direct chest burster, really long fellow. He's got his mouth closed here, still got his arms out. And you know, you could probably splash some trans clear red on it and Photoshop it coming out of your favorite or least favorite figure for your photography purposes. So overall, really cool accessory pack. Comes with a lot, I would say. I think the $40 mark is probably mostly for the material used in the Alien Chrysalis cocoon, but I think a pretty solid offering. I think it helps encapsulate the rest of the movie scenes you'd want to recreate, so I appreciate them giving it to us. An interesting thing about the accessory pack, though, is when we come to the Scorched Xenomorph accessories, we do get some duplicates. So we get another face hugger here that comes with the Scorched Xenomorph. You can see it's essentially the same paint job. Obviously, there's going to be some slight differences. Nothing is ever exactly as the promo image. So we get another face hugger, and we also get the same model of the slithering chest burster with his mouth open. So those are some rehashes that we get there. We also get some space for a plastic little stand here. I'm not really sure if this is for the face hugger, the chest burster, or the alien, but I have been sort of placing it right under the base of the tail of the alien, and it just sort of helps him keep balance because he's got some very small feet. But with all that being said, let's take a look at our boy, the Scorched Xenomorph. Taking a closer look here, as you already got to see some far shots, the sculpt work is absolutely beautiful. I mean, look at that focus. everything is sculpted head to toe, front to back. It's all textured. It's all sculpted. And it's painted beautifully. And the reason I say it's painted is when you look in here, you can see that there's some trans orange coming through. You can see it in the tips of the fingers too. This is a trans orange plastic. Everything in here, I believe, this whole guy, you can see it in these joints here. The light isn't picking it up too well. The light might just be a little too powerful, but I'm pretty sure this guy is entirely cast and made out of this really, really nice trans orange plastic. You can see more of it here. You can see how you can see the light passing through just a little bit. And then it's all painted in black and then sealed in this gloss. So very, very impressive work. You can see some extra dry brushing on the back here, especially coming around the bone, sort of the plates around the tail. You can see this gray dry brushing that runs all the way along the tail. The tail is super long. I mean, it's stretching almost across the whole light box if I straightened it out. Very long, very stiff wire in here. I would almost say the wire and the plastic is just a little bit too stiff. I think we've gotten some other aliens with more pliable tails than this one, but at the same time, the sculpt is also a bit more intricate, so I understand why maybe they landed on this material for the final one, or this sort of tension for the final one. You can see more of that trans clear orange plastic when you come up to his breathing tubes up here. I mean, everything is just absolutely remarkable. Something that I really do appreciate is I saw some Hot Toys images for their Scorched Xenomorph, and there was some trans blue highlighting here, and they actually do put a little bit of bluish gray up on these sort of shoulder hoses that come across the top. So even that appreciation to detail, it really shows that NECA did not skimp at all. Every detail from that movie model, whether it be the live action physical props or the CGI, they didn't miss a beat. Everything's been hit with paint. All the effects look great. You can see that there's this sort of tiger striping that's actually, the camera doesn't capture it. It looks black here, but in person, it's actually almost a little bit green. So you get this really cool tiger striping, and you can see that actually under the dome, it's all painted and dry brushed in sort of this bright grayish silver coming through the dome there. And so then you can see I have the solid sort of frosted dome here, but the one that's originally packaged with the figure is the Scorched Xenomorph head, which has this little sort of eye burn across it. I don't really think the eye burn paint is done very well. You can see it's just sort of this black crack with some light blue, and then some other sort of splotches just mixed around on there. It does the job well. I think the sample that they previewed looked a little bit better than this. Feels a little bit sloppy, but it gets that scorch scar across. And I like the way they did this here because it's only a part of the dome. The whole dome doesn't replace. It's actually just the front of the dome, and you get these two pegs that plug into the head. And they sort of hide the edge by mixing it in with that striping that runs down the dome. So all you have to do is you come to the sides of the head here, and you just pull it up and off. You can see that they did sculpt a beautiful skull in between there. Some of the painting is a little bit off. It's a little bit too dark on that side, but the skull looks good. And then you just take the scorched head plate and you just peg it in there, and now you have that face scar on the Xenomorph. So looking great. Another really cool thing about the Xenomorph is this is the first one that comes with an array of hands that we can swap off. So I've already switched a couple of the hands in and out, but some of the other offerings we get default, we get these sort of relaxed hands. You can see the 6 fingers on that hand, and we get that in a right and a left. I call it right and left primarily where the bigger thumb is versus like the secondary pinky. So you can see it's a right and a left. An interesting thing is we get these big ol' splayed out hands like this, but based on where the primary thumb is, we get 2 very wide splayed hands that are both cued for the right side. I don't know why that is. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be symmetrical, and I just got, I mean, they look like the same, almost the same exact model. So I'm not sure if I got 2 right hands or something, but when I look at the clamshell, it actually does look like it's supposed to be 2 right hands. And the only difference I can see is that the 4th finger here curves in, whereas the 4th finger here is a little bit more straightened out. on the alternate hand. So I'm not really sure what the deal is there, but we also get a right and left hand of this sort of longer extended pose, so not quite as relaxed and curved in. The hands are almost reaching in this version. And then we get some really crazy kind of crinkled up, distorted hands here. And I don't know what we're supposed to do with these, but we get a pair of these for right and left as well. And then lastly, and I thought this was really cool, is they gave us crawling hands right and left as well. And you can see here the fingers and the hand really bends up funny. The secondary thumb and that extra pinky tuck up into the palm there. Really wild. But this is for crawling poses, which is something we've never seen before. All the crawling type xenomorphs we've had, they either lack articulated fingers or they're pre-placed in a crawling pose. So I think it's cool that because we see this version of the xenomorph crawl and stand and run, they actually gave us an appropriate offering of hands, which turns out to be, I think, 4 or 5 pairs total, in addition to make up all those poses. And that's what I really mean by NECA did a good job with this guy. They put a lot of thought into him, the sculpt work, the engineering for the dome, the offering of the hands, you know, potentially this little crotch grabber stand that we can retrofit him with. And then let's go back down to the feet here. The engineering in this is really cool. So we have a normal standard NECA hip joint, as we'd expect. You go forward, back, you get a little bit of out motion as well. And then there's some rotation at this sort of ball hinge joint inside there. And I like this. It's all sculpted inside here too. There's some older NECA figures where it's actually smooth in there. They sculpted it so this guy looks about as seamless as it can be. There's a hinge, there's a plugged in hinge joint here. So you can bend this first knee back and forth, and you also get some rotation there. Then coming down here, normally this would all be like one fused piece. We've seen that in past NECA figures, but we have a bend here. And then we also get a foot hinge and swivel as well. So just a lot of range of motion coming out of these legs. It feels like they added probably 1 or 2 extra points of articulation in the legs just to really allow you to get him into some of those really nice crawling, crouched over poses, as well as being able to make him stand more straight. So I really appreciate that. But now I'm going to move the hands and the other accessories out of the way. And I want to get to some size comparisons and some engineering comparisons as we talk about the articulation of this guy, because it's really, really impressive. I like what they did here. There's definitely a couple things that there's a couple decisions I find to just be a little bit questionable for the design of the Scorched Xenomorph, but I would say that overall we see an improvement in NECA engineering in this offering here. So I'm going to try to get him to stand nicely. His little feet don't get him to stand much. There we go. And now I'm going to scoot him back a little more. And so let's talk about it. So first, we've already talked about the legs, and so I'm going to go back to the legs really quick here with the Rhino Xenomorph. As you can see here for the Rhino Xenomorph, we get the same hip, and you can see here that it's sort of sculpted, but it's not done in the same trans plastic. It's done in this matte black plastic down here in the hips. So I like that the paint job, the glossy black, and the sculpting is very consistent running between the hips in the Scorched Xenomorph. When we come here, we get a double jointed knee for the Rhino alien. And then, like I was saying, all of this is fused here. And granted, the Rhino Xenomorph isn't designed to stand on its own, but it just does hinder the articulation a little bit because you can't get him into some good charging poses because this joint here and this, how it's all engineered, it doesn't bend back at all. So it's permanently bent in this relatively like 90-degree angle. And then the foot here, we do get some swivel and a hinge. So similar to the Scorched Xenomorph, but I think, you know, them adding that extra joint right there does make a lot of difference. The other thing I want to talk about the Rhino alien is his interchangeable dome. Or not interchangeable, but alternate dome. So you can take the dome off the Rhino Xenomorph, and it shows you this nice, beautiful, bright, trans orange plastic, or you can slide the dome over. There's a hole on the back of his horn, and it just sits on top. which also looks great. There's some nice shading there, but it's just really loose. You just flip them over and it falls off. So I like the fact that there's 2 pegs in here. I like the fact that the whole dome doesn't replace. It's a lot of material. I'm glad that they found a way to seamlessly fit it into the Scorched Alien. So that's really cool. Next, I actually want to bring out, just for a size comparison, not really an engineering comparison, but a size comparison, I want to bring out Big Chap. This is from the Ultimate Big Chap pack. You can see that Big Chap's legs are basically straightened out. So this is him standing straight in the Scorched Xenomorph. With his legs, it's still not fully straightened out. Just absolutely dwarfs Big Chap. This guy is tall. I mean, really genuinely tall. This is the tallest Xenomorph I have on my shelf by far. I don't think I would say he's also probably longer than the Rhino, even though the Rhino has more mass. So, I mean, just understand that you are getting a massive figure at $40. I think this is probably the best offering for the price point, considering the Ultimate figure here is also $40. It comes with an Ovomorph and a face hugger and a chest burster. But I mean, in terms of paint, in terms of articulation and size, this guy just wins overall. But we had to bring the OG out right here. I like the fact that the fingers are splayed on this design. It's really cool. There's a lot of stuff that was talked about in the movie that leads to, you know, the very clear design differentiation, especially here in the torso. This guy's much thinner and lankier, looks a lot more athletic. Obviously, this movie was, what, 1989 or 1981. So besides the fact that one is CG and the other one's not, really cool design variation, still very classic with the tubing, with the ribbing down the arms and the legs. But I think they did a very good job in evolving the design, especially since this is supposed to be, you know, a direct successor to Big Chap. So very similar design, very different. I love it. The other thing I wanted to talk about in terms of engineering is we're going to dive into the articulation now and really get into it. So starting with the head here, we do have a mouth joint. Unfortunately, you can see here that the jaw is just slightly off kilter on my copy. It's not really offensive, but when you close it, you can see that the teeth don't tuck under as much on this left side here as they do on the right. So I just wanted to point that out. But you do have that. You get this inner jaw that comes down. It's painted in this bright pink with this black wash, and then the teeth are picked out also. So that's great. We can tuck that up in there, close the jaw again. The neck is a really interesting choice, and I think NECA could have done better here. But when you turn the head, it's at this sort of angled, it's on this angled like hinge swivel. So this up and down works really well, except when you pull the head all the way back and you get this like funky Adam's apple. And then when you turn it, you get this really gross block. I just don't think they had to sculpt it this way. And it's because they're trying to make it fully seamless up to the joint in like the standard pose, which is really seamless. That looks beautiful. You couldn't tell that there's a joint there, but as soon as you move it anyway, you get this really funky block look all the way around. So that's a little bit unfortunate there. And I want to compare it. I'm just going to drop him to the side. I want to compare it to the Burster Alien from the Alien, I think it was Evolution game. You can see here in the standard pose, the neck fits relatively well to the jaw and the head, but because they allowed it to curve in here, it follows a lot. The silhouette follows and the head turns a lot better without leaving a fat block around. So I think they could have done something more with the sculpt where it tucks up and under the head versus meeting it edge to edge, because that just ruins the overall silhouette. Something I like they did that they haven't done in basically any of the other Alien figures besides Alien Evolution is the joint at the base of the neck here. In this one, it feels like one single stage joint. It doesn't feel like a lot, but you get this slight up and down out of it, which is really cool. And I'm seeing, looks like just some of the trans orange there didn't get painted, but thankfully we can't see it from the front. But yeah, there is a secondary lower neck joint there, and that is something we also see in the Burster Alien. This one's obviously more exposed. Thankfully, this one is nested. This one is nested into the chest here, but this one here allows it to look all the way down, all the way up. So I really like that addition there. Obviously, not as much range in the Scorched Xenomorph, but I appreciate having an extra point of articulation. We always like that. Coming down to the shoulders now. The shoulders are just a hinge swivel. So it's plugged in around the shoulder. You can move it 360, and then you can get his arms up to 90, which is perfect range. We have a double jointed elbow right here. So you can see bends way past, actually, yeah, a bit past 90. I wouldn't say way past, a bit past 90. A little unfortunate thing is my little elbow spur here has been bent in just in the packaging. The one on the right side stayed straight, but the one on the left is a little bent, so I'm gonna have to heat that up and straighten it out. But you can see the elbow joints here are even still painted. It's not unpainted black plastic. You can see that there's some gray dry brushing on it. So I mean, they really spared no expense on this guy. Coming down to the arms here, everything is still painted. The nails are done in a beautiful silver, and then all the hands are on a they have a wrist hinge and a wrist swivel. Coming to the chest here, this is something really interesting I wanted to talk about. It's on a really stiff, like, ball hinge joint on the inside here. So you can see it's on a ball joint because you get some really nice twist and you can circle him around. So up here at the top, it's a ball joint, but I'm pretty sure on the inside of the lower part, it's on a hinge because I get no side to side. But if you push really hard, you can get him to click forward once. And click forward once allows him to get this seamless look between the rib cage and this abdomen hose. And then when you come back here, you can see that the sculpting is sort of nested to fit how the back tubes overlap. So you can see that nested sculpt there. And so then you can pop it back. And now the back is flawless and looks really clean and seamless again. But now I get all this zero area right here. And you can see how the lines don't 100% line up. And it almost looks like his torso, it overlaps lower here than it does on the other side. So it almost feels like my guy is installed just like a little bit tilted. I don't know if the joint inside isn't like finished properly or wasn't slotted properly, but he sits just leaning a little bit to the left. So I like it crouched forward. It's a little bit easier to disguise that lean that way. And he still looks great. And then I don't get this dead zone texture up here. I wish they would have continued the rib cage sculpt right here, so that when you lean him back, it still feels like one full component. But instead, you get some funky, it's kind of, I mean, there is some sculpt and texture and paint, but it just doesn't make sense that the rib cage ends. You get some kind of blah whatever sculpt, and then you go back to this hyper intricate tubing. So I think that could have been improved there. And then we've already basically talked about the hips and the leg motion. Another nice thing is that the tail actually is plugged in, so you get a little bit of rotation right here at the base of the tail, which is pretty nice. This figure is beautiful. I know I've pointed out a handful of gripes with the neck, with how the jaw doesn't line up right, with how the mid-torso joint doesn't line up right. But I mean, really, honestly, this is my favorite Xenomorph figure to date. I have quite a few. I have 2 Rhino aliens. I got Big Chap. I got the Burster. I got the Spitter. I have the concept albino Xenomorph. I have the Arachnid Xenomorph. I love Alien. I love the franchise. So seeing this guy in action, seeing what NECA previewed in the pre-order and all the new really new like features and accessories that they were going to offer, I couldn't pass this guy up, and I'm really glad I didn't. I think for y'all who are fans of the Alien franchise or even just fans of the movie, I think this is probably as good of a figure you're going to get in the 1/12 scale, 1/9 scale price point and range. The only other offering I know of the Scorched Xenomorph is Hot Toys will eventually be releasing one. They did preview one semi-recently, but I mean, I'll take $40-45 for this guy with this level of detail, with this level of paint at a $40 mark. I'm going to take that over a Hot Toys $300-350 any time of the day. This accomplishes what I needed to, and I think the materials are great. I think the paint is great. I would classify any negatives that I brought up as minor at best. I think NECA has done such a good job at improving this product compared to previous Aliens we've seen that I think it outweighs any of the cons that I could represent here. Very happy to own this figure, very happy to have the accessory pack, and very happy to bring this review to you today. So I hope y'all have a good rest of your Saturday, and I'll catch you next time. Take care.